Good evening and welcome to this special edition episode called Elections 2020 Update. I'm Roodi Balgobin and with me is Hugh, Todd, where we'll be providing an update as to where we are currently with the 2020 national and general regional elections. Before we get into those updates, I'll just give you a moment to give an opening statement.
Oh, hello Guyana, and thank you for joining us on this Saturday afternoon. As you know, we've passed 2 weeks so far since we had polling. Polling was free, fair, and credible, and we've had some issues with the tabulation and declaration of Region 4 that led to a recount, and we're at a position where that has been stalled because we're tied up in court proceedings, and we are adamant that that process should start because that is where we need to go to bring this entire process to a proper conclusion lawfully.
Thank you for saying that. More importantly, later on in the program, as promised, I will give you guys an update as to what is taking place in the courts and what is happening and the process outlined by the judge there, and it will give you guys an idea of the time frame that we're working with. So let's get into it. Last night we would have seen a statement from President David Granger, another one of those, lofty, aloof speeches. Care to comment on?
I think he's a master of disguise. He believes in hiding behind the courts. He likes to put people to the front to do his bidding, and then he comes out after a while to say, well, you see, it's not my fault. I'm trying my best to make this thing happen, but unfortunately we're tied up here for a moment, but bear with me, please. I am committed. I believe in law and order, and I want you to remain calm so that we can bring this to an end. But we've seen the president's action over the last 4 to 5 years, beginning with his unilateral appointment of the GCOM chair. It did not get better. And every time he makes a promise that is agreed upon, once it is going to promote democracy and good governance, you'll always find that there is some other spoke in the wheel that would prevent it from turning. And this is unfair to the people of Guyana because the president has to understand that he's running a country that people need to get on with their lives. And people's lives have been put on hold. And he has to treat with this situation with some amount of urgency. We know the president is not a man of urgency. He takes his time to make decisions, and we can't have a president taking his own time to make decisions when you have an entire country waiting on you. We have an entire population waiting on the president to give a firm commitment and follow through on that commitment. And that's just a recount. It's not a complicated process. We had the court already pronounce on Region 4 declaration, which was unlawful, and everything else that follows out of that should be a smooth process. And we are convinced that he is pretty much aware of what's going on, and he's himself is preventing the process from unfolding and bringing it to a logical conclusion. I'm lost for words. You can't believe this is happening in the 21st century. Definitely. Where you have a president who is committed to democratic principles and values and then not fulfilling the obligations. And he has to step up, show good leadership. People are calling on him. The international community is calling on him. The people of Guyana are calling on him to do the right thing and get this thing done quickly. We don't need this matter to be dragged on because this is an election. This is a very important juncture in our political history. So we have to be able to set an example for the future generation to come. We can't allow the youngsters of today to believe that this is normal. This is not normal. This is not how we run a country. And I think the president has it within his remit to call upon GCOM, to call upon his ministers to abide by the rule of law and show leadership, because it's in the interest of not just his party, but in the interest of the entire country.
Definitely. So what you were talking about there is that we have the president's statement last night where he's basically hiding behind the veil of this court case that is ongoing, where you have Yulita Moore, who he claims is a private citizen, but she's not. She was a candidate in 2018 local government elections for the APNUFC in the Bethel Pleasance, NDC. She's also the liaison officer to the Karen Cummings, who works at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Karen Cummings, the one that threatened the international observers to take away their accreditation and stuff like that. So another regular statement after he himself would have initiated the process where CARICOM came, the chairperson, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, came here and sent a high-level team with the imprimatur of both leaders that we will have a national recount going. So now he's claiming that, oh, I can't do anything about this and stuff like that. So as promised, I'll just give a brief view of what's happening in the court. As you guys know, Yulita Moore has filed a case. She was granted several interim injunctions in which basically the essence of it is to block the recount, which was negotiated by CARICOM. There are claims from the APNUFC side that the president, the leader of the opposition, even GCOM does not have the power to make such a decision. However, I'd just like to point everyone to Article 162(1)(b) of the Constitution of Guyana, which is very clear about the powers of GCOM and what GCOM can do in order to conclude the electoral process. And that article says that the Commission shall issue such instruments and take such actions as appear to it necessary or expedient to ensure impartiality, fairness, and compliance with the provisions of the Constitution or of any act of Parliament on the part of persons exercising powers or performing duties connected with or relating to the matters aforesaid, which is the conduct of elections for members of the National Assembly. So it's pretty clear that GCOM has the power to grant this recount. However, there is an injunction barring GCOM from doing so, so we have to dispense with that. Friday last, the leader of the opposition, Dr. Barjagdev, the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, has been joined as an interested party in this case. There was another application by Riaz Holadar, the guy that the citizens that brought the forced action to get the forced declaration of Claremont Mingo, the returning officer for Region 4, vacated and deemed unlawful. His case was denied, his application was denied. However, there is a new action that has been filed jointly by the leader of the opposition, Dr. Jagdeo, as well as with Holadar, who is seeking to bring this thing to an end once and for all. Of course, those of you who are familiar with the courts would know that I can go into details and give you more details as to what these applications entail and what the affidavits entail. But just rest assured that the People's Progressive Party is doing everything in its power to bring this situation to a peaceful, a speedy end and to get the democratic will of the electorate answer to. So, I'll bring you back now in. We have also seen the new narrative that the APNUFC, those on Facebook, are calling for ethnic inclusivity. They're talking about how the OAS and the US are complicit with the PPP in trying to rig an elections. And that's the new narrative. What are your initial thoughts on this as we get more into it?
It's amazing that the tables would have turned so quickly, because the narrative that was coming out of APNU AFC over the last several years was that the PPP is not very favorable when it comes to the West, US and the West. So there is no way that the PPPC will be able to achieve any victory because they don't have the support of the United States and the West. So it's kind of interesting to see that they're now saying that we're getting all the support from the US and the West. I want the supporters of the AFC and the APNU to understand this is not about permanent friends. This is about mutual interests. I think it's about looking at your governance system, your governance model, and you will be able to attract partners based on that. If you want to commit to democracy and democratic principles and values, you will win a lot of friends and a lot of support. fundamentally, right? Because it feeds into human rights and the rule of law. If you want to behave like the APNU AFC and lead a very undemocratic government where you have no respect for human rights and the rule of law, you will lose friends. And it is not, you can't blame the PPPC for that. You can't blame the international community for that. You have to blame the leadership of the APNU AFC and the buck stops with President David Granger. And I dare say, from the time he unilaterally appointed James Patterson as the chairman of GCOM, we got a good sense of where he was heading. And everything that you see happened over the last year and a half, and this debacle that we're in right now with GCOM, you can see that they really wanted to capture GCOM. They wanted to control the elections machinery. So please, supporters of the APNU AFC, don't be fooled by your leaders. This is not about us against them. They don't like us, we like them. This is about your political system. This is about your rule of law, your adherence to democratic values and principles. This is how you win friends globally. This is what we've signed on to. So don't be fooled. If you want to understand how you make friends, look at how the other Caribbean communities operate. Look at how the rest of the world operates. This is how we do business. We do business by adhering to good values and good principles. If you don't do that, you lose friends. And this is how the world system works. So don't be confused. And I don't think I can explain it in a more simple manner.
Definitely.
All right, this is what it is. It's about your governance structure. You would not be able to make friends if you're undemocratic. You can make friends if you're democratic. And that's simply what it is. The PPPC is a very inclusive and democratic political party. We've done it in and out of office. We always be responsible in office and out of office. When you look at the APNU FC, led by the PNC has always failed in government because they've always been a very irresponsible opposition. And if you're in opposition and you're irresponsible, you can't be responsible when you get into government. So you have to go to your leaders, and I'm appealing here to the supporters of the APNU FC, and you have to hold them accountable. You have to let them explain to you, why is it that the Americans in the West are not comfortable with what is going on? And be truthful. That is how the party will grow. The reason why the PPPC has always enjoyed majority support is because we believe in the rule of law, we believe in the will of the people, and we don't shy away from that. We don't believe in manufacturing results. We allow the chips to fall where they may, we accept, and we come back to you. And that is where we're at. We came out of office in 2015, and we came back in 2020, and now we're preparing to form the government, and we're being prevented from that because of the recount being stalled.
Definitely. Just to add to what you were saying about the inclusivity of the People's Progressive Party, during the campaign, it was a long and hard campaign. You were on the platform many times speaking about this. The PP campaign on offering inclusive governance, constitutional reform. We had a manifesto with promises that captures every single Guyanese in this country. It wasn't catered to one specific group or to one person. And to make that even more, you can look at our list of candidates. It's young people, older folks, they're fishermen, they're intellectuals, they're every single Guyanese from every single religion, from every single race in this country is reflected on our list of candidates. In fact, a significant amount of the persons on our list of candidates are young people.
Young people. And new candidates as well.
Exactly. And women, of course. There's a lot of women on the list of candidates, new faces to politics, stuff like that. So this entire narrative now of wanting ethnic inclusivity, of course it's there. It's always been there. If there's one party that doesn't foster ethnic inclusivity, would be the APNU-AFC.
And it's a shame that they're coming with that type of rhetoric now, Roodi, because they've had 23 years in the opposition to get their act together. Then they've had about 9 years of control within the National Assembly when they were a minority, when we were a minority government, and then when they came into power in 2015. So they've had a lot of time deciding on policy in the National Assembly. And now that they are about to the Met office, they're crying out. And I think the supporters of the APNO FC, they need to really look and study their representatives and not be fooled by what they're saying. Look at us. Listen to the PPPC. Listen to our leaders. Take a look at our manifesto. Look at our list of candidates. Follow us on Facebook, and you'll get to understand the PPPC. I think the reason why the supporters of the APNO FC sometimes are a bit unaware is because they don't open their minds to understand who we are. And if you live in Ghana and you want to integrate, you're the ones, the people of Ghana, they're the ones who have to make the decisions, not the politicians. You're the guys who direct the politicians. So we are there to serve the people, which we have signed up to do. You, the APNO FC supporters, you have to look to your representatives and see if they're actually serving you, or whether they're misguiding you. And in this case, where they're talking about ethnic inclusivity, it's them running now, crying foul. There's no reason for them to cry. They've been in government. They've had enough time to do good for the people. People recognize that they did not fulfill their obligations, and the people decided that they will reject them. And the APNO FC, and I prefer to say the PNC because it's really the PNC leading this drive, the PNC does not believe in rejection. They believe that they're entitled to be in government forever. They believe that they can decide on every aspect of life in society, and that is not how a democracy works. They are supposed to accept the will of the people, the Met office, and we have committed to inclusive governance. If they've listened to our General Secretary and our presidential candidate, they talk about inclusive governance. We have always had a lean government. We believe in inclusive governance, and that is why we've been able to achieve the amount of development we had over the last 23 years in office, because of inclusivity, not because we believe in extractive policies. If you want to look at extractive political policies, look to the PNC. That's what they believe in. They believe in political power. They don't believe in development. And to get development or balanced development, you'll have to have inclusive governance. And we've been practicing that. And what we said and committed to is that we will even go further, right? By reaching across the aisle. Because there are good people on the other side too who would make a good contribution. But at the same time, we need to get this matter resolved. We need to bring this March 2nd elections to conclusion. Definitely. We cannot continue like this as a country. People are scared, they're worried, they're anxious, they're impatient, and the president is responsible for bringing this matter to a conclusion. He has to pull back his people who are trying to derail the process and say, listen, we have to respect the will of the people. We came into office with a promise. We may not have done sufficiently good enough. The people have rejected us, and we have to respect that and honor that. And that is simple. That is not difficult. Show the people of Ghana what is honesty and what is integrity. And I think the president has a last opportunity to show the people of Ghana, the people and the rest of the world, that he's a man of integrity and he's a man that is honest. This is the deciding factor here. And we cannot continue like this indefinitely, Roodi.
Definitely. The only thing the president needs to do is to instruct his party official, his candidate in the 2018, to just withdraw the action. In fact, the lawyer for her who appeared in court in the afternoon is another national candidate for this election, the 2nd March 2020 elections, Mr. Roysdale Ford. He is appearing on behalf of Yulita Moore. Then President Granger could just call both of them and said, here what? We need to get this thing concluded. I have already committed to a national recount. I signed an accord with CARICOM. A team was sent here. The leader of the opposition has agreed to this. Withdraw the case, and then he moves one step forward. They instruct his 3 commissioners at GCOM to say, here what, we are agreeing to a recount, and that's that. And it's simple as that. The matter is over with. That's an easy thing. In terms of inclusivity and having them involved in governance, because I say having them involved now because we have won the elections, we have won these elections, we just a stall here, so guys be
ready
patient.
for the official declaration.
Official declarations. Yeah, many a times the general secretary of the party has said, and I'll give you one example, when it comes to the oil and gas industry, there's a new industry. He said the PP would take an apolitical approach to it, but both sides would be involved. So they would meet, you would discuss, you would craft policies with everyone involved, but the politicians will play no actual role in the execution of these. The technical people will do that. And everyone can agree that you can't get any more inclusive than that. Other than you say, hey, you take this ministry and I'll take this ministry and you take that ministry. It doesn't work like that. So there's always been a plan from the PP to commit to inclusivity and inclusive governance and constitutional reform that I see a lot of these small parties are clamoring for and things like that. Hugh, the new narrative as well, I see Mr. James Bond seems to be obsessed with this grand conspiracy theory that the PPP is trying to rig the elections, or they rigged the elections, as he would say, and now he's gone a step forward on talking about the contract with the USPR firm, saying that, oh, we're complicit with the US and the OAS, as we mentioned earlier. Now, we have released this contract ourselves. We are the ones that released it. The General Secretary has spoken on this matter at several press conferences where he made it explicitly clear that we hired the company because we needed representation at these various forums, because the information, the agencies that are giving these information are all aligned to the government, and it's always been like that. And so our side of things, the PPP's view were not being shared with these officials and these organizations. So it's as a result of that. Mr. Bond can as well hire another PR firm and try to do get their views across, seeing that the entire world now has rejected their narrative that, oh, they have won the elections and that the PPP is trying to cheat them out of office and whatever the case is. So you were approaching our wrap-up time here. I'll just give you a chance to give your closing statements.
I think the issue with trying to blame the United States, the OAS, and the other organizations for helping us to rig the elections is just so far-fetched that it's not worthy of any discussion. But for the people out there who may be very confused because of so much messages coming to them, they can be a bit confused. I want the people of Ghana to understand that the elections was free, fair, and credible. And this is according to the chairman of GCOM. This is according to the international community, and we also believe that the elections was free, fair, and credible. Polling day went without any major hiccup. The issue here is the tabulation and the declaration of Region 4. It was unlawfully done. They did not use the source documents, at least for the second half of it, and they've arrived at a figure that varies tremendously from what the PPPC has on its SOPs, which we did our tabulations. We've made it public. The international community also, they have a copy along with the small parties. So this process is basically has been concluded for us. James Bond, what he's doing is using time and space to put added information out there to confuse people. But I don't think people are going to buy onto that buy into it, because how is that possible? They're the ones who've been creating all of the ruckus, right? The bomb scare. The police, instead of doing civil duties, they're doing political duties. Scare tactics, delaying tactics. I mean, come on, James Bond. Show that you have some dignity and do the right thing. If you don't believe that your party won the elections, then you need to turn to supporters and say, listen, all is not lost. This is how a democracy works. We will remain committed to our people. We will go back to the parliament and we will continue to advocate for the betterment of the people of Guyana. That is how it works. This is not a case whereby when you lose, you're sour and you're bitter. It's a democracy. When you're in this business, you have to accept defeat, and when you're victorious, you have to do good by the people. It's simple as that. And they do not own Guyana. We have worked hard over the last 5 years to bring balance in everything that happened, in all of the reporting. We've broken all of the news, we've kept the people up to date, and we've held this government accountable. And that is why we've been successful in these elections. So Mr. Bond has to understand that he has another 5 years to come back and do good by the people when they're in opposition.
Definitely. So with that, guys, we'll be wrapping up this afternoon. Just a few messages. Please remain calm. This is just but a stumbling block. This elections will be declared soon. Everything will be over in a matter of a few short weeks, I would say. I don't want to put any time frame to it and then someone holds me to that. But the elections will come to a conclusion soon. And please believe that the People's Progressive Party Civic is working its hardest to bring it to that conclusion soonest, so that we can return to some sort of normalcy in Guyana. And be assured that the will of the electorate will be honored. We will not allow anyone to deny you your vote and who you voted for. We are pushing hard to get the recount of Region 4 and the entire country, since the PNC seems to want that as well. So we know what we are capable of. We know what took place on March 2nd, 2020, and we have no problems with that. So with that said, just remain calm, go about your businesses, be careful out there with the coronavirus. And also, if you have time on your hands, please help in the fight and in this struggle for democracy and the return of democracy in Guyana. We thank you for joining us on this program, and we'll see you guys next time. Good.